So for the sake of tomorrow, today, and our generation, I'm simply asking you to organize and not agonize. Because that way, you and I can bounce back better. You know, my story is interesting today because of what people see and who they now know. But not many people understand that this man standing before you had to actually go to the farm to get cassava. You mill it and then take it to the market. All that has to happen before 8 o'clock so you can go to school. So there were times where you go with your mom to the farm. You go through one of the major highways, one of the federal highways in Nigeria, the dead of the night, sometimes very early in the morning, to get cassava from the ground. So because of the fact that sometimes you were sleepy eyes, you are not very fast. So you get to school and then you were flogged because you're trying to make sure that there's money for you to continue. And then when we understood that the flogging was too much, my mom said, we've got to organize better. So we would leave the house by 5, get the cassava, mill it, get it to the press, and ensure that you have your bath and get to school max 7:50. So we escaped the flogging, all because my mom taught us how to do what? Organize better. I grew up understanding life from a place of competition, where you have to struggle for attention, for a place under the sun. But somewhere inside my spirit, I knew that that was not the best way to look at life. That the best way to look at life, really, guys, is through the lens of collaboration, of empathy, of kindness, of reaching out. So I grew older, understanding that my life would revolve around the idea of public participation and, collaboration. So as I started learning how to lead at the level of primary school, being head boy and leading the football team, I learned quickly that if you don't organize, you will live your life agonizing without results. And then came the university. I ended up getting into one of the most prestigious universities in Nigeria. I'm not saying yours is not. Mine is prestigious. The University of Benin. And I remember the first time we're doing the orientation program. And they said, you can't go into the library with your phone. And at that time, if you remember, not now, where they used to send you recharge card, you sell and convert to money. Do you understand that? And I said, sir, I have a question. So I went there, young guy from nowhere, just speaking my mind. And I said, sir, it is impossible to organize cash now. In a time where recharge card is the way out, if I miss one recharge card number and my mom throws it away, somebody will organize that thing before I know. And, the university management said, well, this is not the time for a student union leader to emerge. I never knew he was prophesying. At the end of the day, I left the University of Benin, handed over as the public relations officer of the student union government. And guess what? When I took office, I said my name will be written in the annals of time. That I came, I didn't just pass through the school, but I delivered. Before my time, over 5 years, they had not produced the Parrot magazine. I organized my committee, and we delivered the Parrot magazine. And because we also made promises that we're going to get a bus for the school, we organized and we got the governor of Edo State to give us a brand new bus. All of this is because we organized. So in the middle of my conversation, I want to ask you a question. Are you ready to lead? No. Are you ready to lead? So it was sometime in 2019 when I got back from the US. And one of the major TV stations called me and said, oh, we want you to be on the show. And what was the topic? Are young people ready to rule? First, I told them back, if this is your topic, I'm not coming. They said, why? I said, because my generation don't want to rule. We want to lead. Right? We want to lead. So I got into the studio, and there was this other older guy who paired with me, and the guy went on. He gave us reasons why young people cannot lead. He said, you people are rude. You people are sagging these days. You people want quick cash. You people are Yahoo boys. You people are this and that. I stood there, looked at him and laughed. And I said, I'm sorry that you should be apologizing to my generation. But well, as it is with your generation, you guys have no shame. But nevertheless, let me tell you why we are ready to lead Nigeria, the African continent, and the world. And I started mentioning names. And I said, are you aware of Joberman? He said, yes. It was founded by a young man. And that is true that we are ready to lead. He was shocked. I said, don't worry, more will come. I said, have you heard of YAEVA Africa? He said, no. I said, you need to Google somebody's name. His name is Samson Itodo. And we just changed the Constitution of Nigeria. I said, do you want to hear more? I said, there's a young man called Hamza Lawal, and he's connecting development with civil society. He thought I was done, and I said, have you heard of Abuni? No. Have you heard of Linda Ikeji? He said, yes. I said, that's a young woman. Today, she's one of the biggest names in TV and news. He said, okay, that's true. I said, you know what? Because what you see it's just the fact that your generation has failed. But there is a new generation taking center stage, ladies and gentlemen. And that is your generation. That is our generation. That we're able to organize and not allow our future to go in waste. So the question today is, are you ready to lead on climate? Just like someone said, planting trees. Are you ready to lead in governance by organizing? I remember when in 2016, we started the conversation of the NotTooYoungToRun bill. I remember those conversations even before the bill came to the House. And people looked at us and said, you people are jokers, nothing will happen. And we said, hold our beer. You know, we live in a country where almost nothing looks possible. But I've always done something, ladies and gentlemen. Young people of this country, young people of Africa, and those around the world that are watching, I've always looked at life from the angle of the unknown. I don't walk from the known. I walk from the unknown. That is what brings me to what is now known. So I tell everybody today, as we bounce back, we're in Bono today. My prayer is that we'll bounce back so much that all those who are calling for war and those who have terrorized our people will cease to exist from the next year. That our children can go to school knowing well that they are safe because you are organizing. Let me bring this home. We're facing one of the most important elections in our history as a people in Nigeria. And I have a simple task for you today. 1 million new registrants. And 1 million new registrants would happen. No, 5 million new registrants, 5 million new voters will happen if 1 million young people choose today to register 5 new voters, just 5. The TEDx platform is not just to tell stories. It's to tell stories that move society, that spark up an idea, so that you and I can look back and we set this day. And today, this is the result. So I'm asking everybody, what will be your 5 new registrants? What is your strategy to getting them? They're in your communities. They're close to your homes. They're probably in your mosque. Maybe they're in your church. Maybe they're somewhere where you worship. Just 5. With 5 people, 1 million of us, we will get 5 million people that can change the course of history. So, do you think it's going to be easy? Absolutely no. It's not going to be easy.